you're a solo entrepreneur, when you're starting to go down this road, people and the right kind of advisors that you can go to and know that you can trust in their suggestions and what they're sharing with you and give that weight rather than feeling like you've got to be that entrepreneur and it's your company. So I got to go with my gut all the time. At the end of the day, it's people. People are going to move your business. People are going to do well with it and choosing the right people to go along with your company, your vision is so very key. So
joining me today is Mike Harvey, the owner of Roof Resource, a company focused on removing the confusion of the roof buying process for the homeowner. Mike's goal was to make a roofing company that was transparent in pricing and overall service. No games, no gimmicks, just a smarter model built on clarity, not confusion. They are actually the first 100% cloud-based virtual roofing company in the United States. Super powerful and something that we're going to dive into today. And we're here to talk to Mike about how he's bringing ethics and communication into an industry of mystery and confusion. Thank you, Mike, for joining me today.
Kyle, thank you for having me.
I'm super excited because as I go through your website and I kind of get an understanding of who you are before the podcast, you see things that are in every roofing company. I was in Florida for the last 10 years, and to watch these pop-up roofing companies come in after every hurricane, you knew there was people cutting corners, there was lack of ethics, there was lack of transparency in pricing. And from what I'm seeing here on Roof Resource, you guys break through that wall and make sure that you give clarity to your customers and give support to where the biggest confusion comes from, where what is the cost to actually replace my roof? Can you tell me, Mike, how you started this business, where this concept of the transparency came from, and a little bit of your background of building Roof Resource?
Yeah. Well, I was a corporate America guy for about 20 years, had the pleasure to work with some incredible people throughout that time, boardrooms and learning and understanding scale, systems, processes, operations, how to operationalize tactics and the impacts that those happen in multiple divisions throughout a company. And then when I was getting out of corporate America, someone said, "Hey, do you want to get into roofing?" And I said, "No, thank you. It's not my cup of tea, and I'm afraid of heights. There's a million ways to make $1 million. Roofing is not for me." He convinced me though, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I've always, told other people that I've counseled, hey, get uncomfortable. That's really when you're going to learn. That comfort zone doesn't do anything for you." So in the next 9 months, him and I partnered, and we did about $1 million in business, just the two of us. But it was something that I learned of really about how the roofing industry treats people. That the core of it is you don't know what you don't know. And then I tell the story is I had my Jerry Maguire moment where I met I would say late 30s couple, sold them a roof, very happy. They had 2 little kids. They were both teachers, $1,000 for the roof. I took off $500 for the today special, and I put that roof on for $6,200 all in. And I knew what my cost was going to be to put the roof on. I walked off the porch. I literally stopped and I just said, I can't do this anymore. The very next 2 days I installed for my grandmother and my brother, and I took care of them. They got my price. So I handled everything for them, and they saved thousands. And so the concept came when I stood in my grandmother's driveway, and I just said, this is really cool. It'd be really cool if I could do this for complete strangers. As I looked down the street and just seen a bunch of roofs. 2 days later, I left the partnership. I modeled out the Roof Resource of like, hey, if I'm going to stay in this industry, I want to feel good, because that didn't make me feel good when I sold that couple. That went into their 401k and pulled out 14 grand. Good for me in my pocketbook, but not good for them. And again, they don't know any better. They still felt like they were getting a great price. Hey, they liked me. And so I modeled out the Roof Resource to say, hey, if I'm going to be in this industry, how would I do it? And that was at a time too, Kyle, when, COVID was happening and you had to stay away from everybody. They didn't know what was going on. And, I'm like, thinking of Zoom and Google Meet, and do I really need to meet with homeowner? I was there. And when you meet with a homeowner, you're really just trying to build trust, because if you build trust, you gain influence. And if you can get some influence, now you can get them to sign on the dotted line with whatever price. And really that meeting is all about choosing a shingle and a color at that point. That's how fast, and every single roofing company, that's what they do. That's the reason why some will come out for an hour and some will come out for 4 hours, because it comes down to price and the connectivity. And so I removed all of that in this process. And I said, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to give a roof at cost. People are like, You can't do that. You can't do that. No way. And so I delivered my first customer March 5th of 2021 and haven't looked back. And it's been
Hey, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the content. Just want to take a quick intermission to address the business owners watching this right now. I have been in the marketing industry for over a decade, and I have found that there is two major things that I am trying to help the world understand. One, there's a common denominator to success. Every successful business has the same foundational structure built out, and we'd love to be able to support understanding what that foundation is. And two, 90% of marketing agencies screw you over for one clear identifier, and that is data. Only 3% of consumers are ready to purchase today. The other 97% are being nurtured by your advertising dollars and advertising spend. We created Kaizen Marketing Agency to give you ownership of not only the customers that you're getting through your front door, but also the ownership of your data and understanding what actually grows your business and giving you the control to be able to grow it. My goal personally is to be one of the best marketers in the world. And the only way to do that is to help as many businesses as I possibly can actually grow their company. Not just sell Facebook ads or Google ads, but put a service together that gives you ownership and growth. So I hope you enjoy this content. If you're loving it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you really want to know more about how to grow your company and you want a free audit and game plan, we'll hand you the keys to the kingdom on how to be successful. Click the link below. We'll do a 15-minute audit. First 10 minutes, we'll really break down your business. Last 5 minutes, we'll show you those common denominators that you need to be successful for your company and how to implement it into your business.
growing ever since.
Beautiful story of us as all as entrepreneurs, all the business owners listening to this right now. We normally start a company because we know we could do it a little bit better, or we have some feeling inside, like you did, Mike, of this isn't quite right. It's why I started my company. I was working in direct mail, and I felt like it was just falsifying numbers, and it wasn't right. It wasn't actually growing businesses. So I started my company to give transparency and true growth, right? But for you, with the roofing industry, it's such a black box because you have the two sides of the material and then the labor. And to give it at cost, I'm assuming you make some of your margin on the labor then?
So I created a flat fee. And so the homeowner can see exactly where the profit is. We have developed national relationships with our SRS distribution centers across the country. So we get top tier pricing. We then go out and we build these great relationships with the top installation companies that are fully licensed, insured, high quality work. And there's massive benefits for them to partner with us. And so I can be so transparent to the homeowner when they get a proposal from us, and we flip the script too, Kyle. We lead with price, where everyone else is kind of build trust, talk about Google reviews. Do you trust me? Price condition, hit them with the price. Then they start to drop. We're straight to the price. You're 14,123. Here's flat fee. Here's materials. Here's permit. Here's labor. Here's dumpster. They get to see where every dollar goes. We don't mark up a thing. We don't take money from the roofing companies. We don't take money from the dumpster companies. We don't do that. And so that leads to an upwards of 30 to 50% more affordable roofs than ever before. And when homeowners tell us they're getting quotes, I know that kind of experience, what they're going through. I know someone's going to come to their home, want to befriend them, drink their juice, drink their coffee, spend 15, 20 minutes to get to connect, because that connection goes towards trust. And when they feel they can get trust, it's the same thing I mentioned earlier. We just remove all.
Psychology of sales practice, the practice of, instead of having a better price and a service, I'm going to convince you to buy from me, even though I am not the best, which is the normal sales process. I went through the same sales process training, I'm assuming that you did. And the psychology of closing a customer, all entrepreneurs, we know this, right? There's two ways to go about it. You can look at someone and say, I will do better service. Here's exactly what I'm going to do. And here's my price. Or I can come to you and say, what would it do for you if I did X, Y, and Z? How would your life be if I did X, Y, and Z? And be able to develop that psychology inside the sales process that will close the customer. But as you said, Mike, if you have ethics and if you have a good sense of humanity, you're going to turn around with money in your pocket, but a sore black taint on your heart, which makes it so that you don't feel the best. Especially, that story that you have of turning away and just saying, man, this is not the person I want to be. It's not the business that I want to represent. Is such a powerful thing because it breaks the society norms, I should say the business norms that we're seeing within most home improvement industries, right? Most people are trying to hide these numbers and pad their margins on one thing or another, and then having their salespeople be the one that actually closes those deals. Where you guys are 100% virtual and giving the price up front. Walk me through a little bit of that sales process. I would love to hear. I'm a homeowner. I probably need a new roof here shortly. How would I go through through your sales process, and how does that compare to the rest of the competitors?
Yeah, so it's great questions. Someone goes on our website, they go to theroofresource.com. Right on there is up to 50% less than retail. Name, phone number, email address. It goes out, which we're actually setting up a call center now for this, but they get a phone call within 10, 15 minutes from one of us. We then go through about 10 questions for the homeowner, really about how soon they want to get their roof, what are they looking at. I will tell you that most people think about, well, how do you know somebody needs a roof if you're not even there? Well, the homeowner already knows they need a roof because they're calling us. They're not calling for an inspection, right? So this is kind of like, it's obvious they're calling because they need a roof, or it's 18, 20 years, or the insurance companies now are telling them that they need to get a new roof. So we take them through that. We find out what their timeline is, what we do, how we take them through what we do and how we do it. We then schedule a Zoom meeting with them, either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever works for their schedule. It's a 20-minute Zoom. We don't need to have the Mr. and Mrs. there. We don't go through that. We let them know that, hey, during this call, we're going to share with you a roof report because we have roofing technology that's going to pull all the details. We're going to show you that report. But more importantly, we're going to show you how those numbers move into your proposal. What does this number mean for materials? What does this number mean for labor? And we give clarity. And as you know, Kyle, when you get clarity, you get certainty. And when you're certain, that allows you to move forward with something because, hey, guess what? This is one of the lowest prices I'll ever get, unless they want to get Chuck on a truck or they know of somebody who's going to do something for them, right? We're at the bottom, but with the highest quality of materials, because another kind of experience that I wanted that I had my family go through is I said, hey, at this price, choose whatever you want. I said, choose from all these class 3, Certainty Landmark Pro, Owens Corning Duration Designer. You get your choice of any of these roofs. I wanted that to be the same thing for our customer. So now they're in shopping mode, where typically on the flip side is that one roofing company comes in and they're representing only one brand because they have maybe a higher rebate with them. They get a higher buy rate from them. And so that's good for the roofing company. It's not good for Kyle because, man, Kyle's got a brown brick and maybe some white siding, and wow, that Owens Corning Designer Black Sable would look baller on your roof, but they're only going to show you with gaff because now you only have a certain selection, right? I didn't think that was fair. I think a homeowner should be able to get choice and selection because you're going to be staring at that roof now for 50 years. And so now they get to go through this shopping experience. And what's been fantastic is I've had homeowners take 2-3 weeks. I have a customer right now that's taken 6 weeks because and we're like, hey, whatever time that you want to take. And so the old experience is confusion because now they're going to get 3 or 4 quotes. That means you're going to get 3 or 4 different price points. They're going to be pitched by 3 or 4 different roofing systems. They're going to have to vet out that roofing company. They're going to have to call the state. They're going to have to make certain that they have the proper licensing because we have found roofing companies that are licensed, but their license is for carpentry, not being a roofing company. Believe that that's out there. Or they don't have enough liability insurance. And so homeowners have to go through all that with us. It's one phone call, one 20-minute Zoom, and then we have their roof installed in 7 to 10 days.
And you're located in Michigan, correct?
Yep.
And
And Michigan is our corporate.
Michigan, or is he servicing all around the U.S.? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we're with franchisees, we're in Michigan, Ohio, Montana, Idaho. Corporate is servicing the Denver, Colorado market. We're in Austin, Texas, and we're in the Chattanooga and Knoxville market. And then, of course, we can service any home. Oh, and then we just launched Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So, but we can, being corporate, we can pull up someone's roof, and we're doing a customer's roof in Indiana. They had seen me on a Zoom, or they see me on a podcast, and they reached out, and we fired up our network there, and now we're installing this homeowner in
Because
Hobart,
you as a
Indiana.
business, you're the structural system that's putting together the material and the roof installers and making sure that the homeowner doesn't have to deal with any of the headache, and you are putting together the best service possible without doing the markup. You're basically, would you consider yourself more of a lead generation service where you're bringing in the leads and you're closing the leads for these companies? Or do you still see your guys selves as roofers?
Well, we see us as the consultant. We see us as you need me. Let's just like if we were related, Kyle, and you said, Mike, I need a roof, I would handle everything for you. And we would just utilize your dollars and I would just point them to where they need to go. But I would assure you that you have the best experience, the best shopping experience, the highest quality roofing system, all the photographs, attic inspection, everything would be done. And you would be leaving a Google review like we get today. People don't just say, hey, I used the roof resource and it was great. They literally write stories. I mean, their story gets, they type that out like they did this, they did that, we were less. And, it's always great because that's, to me, we just know that as a founder, you start something and you know that, hey, this is not hurry up and make a lot of money right away because we're disrupting a whole industry. I can't tell you about I don't want to say arguments, but the combativeness of the existing roofing companies that say, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I say it's small thinking, but I get it because that's the pond that they're playing in. They're not thinking big scale. And I'm not being disrespectful, but I always say that that's blockbuster mentality. This is Netflix. You got to think bigger. And homeowners want, like you want convenience, you want simplicity, you want stress-free, and you want ease. And if you can take those and you can put that into your roof, oh my goodness. So price, quality, craftsmanship, warranty, simplicity, no sales.
Man, what a beautiful baby. And really, for the entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this, there's 2 points I want to pull out of this so far. One, Mike holding his ethics and his positioning on how things should be, how him as a homeowner would want to deal with this, and the fact that he had the background information of this industry to know what the actual cogs were to get the service done, how fat the margins were, and said, well, I could either sell one customer and make $6,000, or I can reduce my overall revenue per sale and scale this to the masses and be able to sell 100 customers at $600 and get that at a higher consistent rate. And that's creating what I would say is an ethical business structure that is giving an emotional tie back to the customers. Because if you're a business owner and you just heard Mike talk about how he's getting the essays for Google reviews and saying, well, why am I not getting essays? The reason he's getting that is because he's creating an emotional connection with the customer that make them want to feed that back into Mike's business. Want to say, thank you. I appreciate you. Right. And that's where that long Google review comes from. Mike, super powerful and an amazing thing to hear. And I love the analogy of Blockbuster to Netflix and how you are the Netflix, because it is a bit of an archaic industry, this roofing industry, and the way that you're doing it and progressing it sounds beautiful. Let's go into the technology a little bit because I'd love to understand how you're keeping this organized, especially as you're expanding with these new franchises across the US. Are you using a specific CRM to keep everything organized? What are you doing for customer acquisition? Talk to me a little bit about the growth process and the management of the internal practice of the business.
In the beginning, when I started to go down this road, I knew that there was obviously Job Nimbus and there's all these different CRMs in the roofing industry, but I knew that I was doing everything differently. It was basically flipping this upside down and no one really had the model that I needed to have. So I went out and paid for it, wireframed our own CRM. So we own the IP, we own the technology. We've been building this now for the last 2 years. And so we're able to bring this experience to people in Idaho that experience it here in Michigan. It's the same. They just plugging into our IP in the CRM. I always relate it to, Kyle, like the fitness trainer that says you've got to do this so many times, then this, then this, then this. And you've got these 9 steps that you have to go through to successfully go through your training. And we have this platform on the back end that, hey, not only do we win the customer, right? Hey, you got the customer, there's a lead part on the front end, but we won them. And it's really about delivering on all the experiences that we've set. Because at the end of the day, you can sell it, but if you don't deliver the experience on the back end and make it so seamless, and so we've wireframed our IP. And so we have that as a separate entity, so to speak, that we own. And that's what really, and we call it core, AORE, because it's the core to our business. Without that, a lot of people would love to have a roof rather than 25 grand for 13 grand. But if we can't deliver that experience and all the steps that have to be taken to deliver a 5-star experience, we would be lost. And so in 22, that's when I said, hey, I reached out and made connections to start developing our own
What is
CRM.
your referral rate? Do you have that number? Do you know how often you get a referral per customer?
As an owner, I should know that number, but I can tell you this. When I get new customers calling me, now, because again, I've got some other people that handle, proposals and things like that, but customers that call me that were my first year customers that are still referring people. And when we are on streets and we are taking care of this homeowner across the street and 2 houses down and 3 houses down, when you have a subdivisions and you say, we've done 10 homes in this area, there's a reason why, and it's not storm chasing. This is just retail roofing. And so the referrals are huge. When I sit in the back seat of an Uber and within 20 minutes they're saying, you've got to let me sell for you. You've got to give me something so I can pass this out because I want to tell people about your company. Or when we have locations and stores that, to your point you said earlier, it's this humanitarian effect that people want to be able to share it with others, because if a homeowner doesn't know about us, they're going to pay retail. And that's one of the reasons why there's this big Superman, a little one back here, is because I have this feeling of, I just want them to know what the real truth is. We call it the roof truth of your home to replace your roof. At that point, choose whomever you want.
Truth. I love that. Well, let's talk a little bit about when because you're expanding, you have these franchises, you're entering into new markets. How do you educate the consumers about the roof truth in a new market? What platforms are you using? How do you get that message out?
So we have a digital provider, and done a really great job. We are getting kind of into the video content a little bit more. I'm actually doing more of my own videos because, Kyle, you're right. I think that it's a message that people need to hear a little bit more, rather than, hey, do you want to get a roof 50% less than retail? Go to the roof resource. And there's so much, as you know, there's so much noise out there in the marketing world when it comes to roofing. And then you got storm chasing. And when the hail comes and the winds come, then you got storm chasers coming from all over the country to your city. And so it's challenging, but that's where, with our franchisees, we say the boots on the ground and going out to the chambers and going out and meeting people and let them know what we do, because it's kind of like we have to light the match. And it's through those connections. It's through realtors. It's through mortgage agents. It's through insurance agents, because a realtor today, when they need to put on a new roof, when, hey, the roof looks bad, if they go out to their network, that roofing company kind of knows that, hey, I'm going to get this, or they're going to use it for escrowing, or they're going to use it for negotiation. A realtor calls us up. Again, our SLA is within 3 hours. We give them a proposal within 3 hours, and we can have that roof on in 7 to 10 days so they can use it to negotiate. They can put on a brand new roof. And again, our price is up to 50% less than retail. We've actually had it where realtors would call us up. Well, like, hey, it's only, I think it was like 18.5 for the roof. Retail was retail was like 38,000. They sold the house for 50 grand more because it had a brand new roof on it. But going into these markets, we really have to be strategic, because we know that we've got a lot of brand equity here in Michigan. We don't have a lot of that in Tennessee or in Ohio. So it's really the face of the business, and that's that franchisee.
Boots on the ground, making sure that you're developing the rapport. And I'm assuming you have door knockers, you have individual sales rep when you open a new franchise, and that's really who's starting that development of word of mouth. But Mike, super powerful. And I think for all the business owners and entrepreneurs listening to this right now, this is what happens when you have your messaging and your offer and your positioning in a market correct. It catches fire. It works by just presenting that to the consumer base. It's how you know that your product, your business model, your ideology resonates with the consumer base, is by when it enters into a market, it starts spreading. And as Mike said here, yes, if you got one house in a community, yeah, maybe you did a good sales process. You have 10, 12 houses in a single community. It's because you are offering something that is better than the competition. And it's just beautiful to hear. So, Mike, I got to ask, where's it going? Where's the plan for Roof Resource in, say, the next 1 to 3 years?
Well, we plan on our continued growth really from Michigan straight down to Florida is really our focus, because obviously here in Michigan, roofing kind of slows up in mid-November through February, but we want to kind of keep things rolling, but we've got a group that's handling Pennsylvania. We do see this transitioning into more wholly owned, because as we continue to perfect our internal leadership and systems and processes. Just like when we got this customer in Indiana, we had nothing there at that time. And within 3 weeks, we had the whole system fired up in Indiana. And so it gave us a different perspective that, hey, we know that we can do this virtually. We know that we can kind of do it anywhere and everywhere. And so it'll be more of a wholly owned. And then we'll be able to, next year, we're bringing on Windows. We know that we can do Windows at a third of the price, and really simplify that whole window. Because there's 30 different there's lots of different window companies and big names, Pella and Anderson, but we want to be able to simplify it for homeowners. And again, I go back to Kyle, I'm a homeowner. And granted, it's like maybe I think differently, but I would like truth. I don't mind somebody making a little bit of money, but I don't want to be the guy that pays for your Belize trip, right? Just because I didn't know any different, you know? And so we want to be able to bring this level, and people will talk about transparency all the time, but it's not at this level. And people will say, hey, I'm transparent because, here's 17.5 for your roof. And we're like, well, here's transparency at 11.4.
And be able to actually break down that's why it's at 11.4, right? This is what it's going to cost for me to pull the permit. This is what's going to cost for me in materials. This is my labor cost in here. And here's I'm assuming right in there, here's my small margin. Here's the little money that I'm going to make throughout that process. And that's the biggest thing. And I think as we move into a world where transparency is a necessity, right? As everyone now can go to Chat GPT and look up how my house is X of size. It's going to tell me how many squares it is. And then it's going to give me a rough estimate on the cost per square, depending if it's shingle, tile, whatever it might be. And then be able to say, well, I mean, I'm looking at ChatGPT and it's telling me $8,000 and your proposal is at 17. Why? And then that's usually when the sales process comes in. What Mike Harvey and Roof Resource is doing is they're skipping the sales process, not saying it's 17 and saying, no, it's going to be about 10,000 and it's 8,000. ChatGPT might be somewhat accurate. Here's my material costs. Here's my labor costs. Here's the permit costs. Here's dumpster costs. Here's everything else. And here it is as an itemized list so that because you said this earlier in the call that throughout the sales process, normally you're trying to build trust, and that trust gives you leverage, and that leverage gives you the opportunity and influence to sell. Well, I think you build that same trust when you have clarity, right? When I don't know and I need a roof for my home and you're the person to educate me on what it really costs, well, I now trust you. You actually told me what I needed to know to get my answer. The problem is that if I went through somebody else, I might find trust in a number that's 2x of what the real cost is because I got sold the wrong way. Mike, it's a beautiful business model. I love hearing the positioning of what you're doing, the fact that you're trying to break the mold, the bad mouth from the other company, take the fact that you're taking market share and you're probably upsetting some people and say, I don't care. I'm going to do what I feel is right. And I'm going to help homeowners get the best price they possibly can for their roof and soon to be windows as well. Dude, Mike, you're a superhero in the sense of, and that's why Superman, your background there as well, a superhero in the sense of this roofing industry. Let me ask a little bit, pivot this towards you as an entrepreneur, right? You talked about how you're in corporate America that gave you an understanding of scale and gave you an understanding of how to run business correctly. It also obviously showed you how to sell, and then really now move into the current business. Let's talk about since you've created this company and you've Roof Resource brought in this new ideology in 2020. What's the biggest challenge that you face in the process of growing this company that either changed your business mindset or kind of gave you an eye-opening moment that our entrepreneurs, business owners could learn from something from you here?
I would say that one is people. I think that we're always going to have, people. When I say that as a challenge, me personally, I always want to see the good in people. And, that's been my personal fault, when you always want to see the good in people and maybe something doesn't happen a certain way. And, the old saying is, run fast, go alone, go slow, go together. In the beginning, where everyone heard of the Roof Resource, it was, money was just being thrown at this, right? And you're moving so fast as a solo entrepreneur, first time franchisor, man, you're just kind of, okay, you handle this, you handle this, you handle this. And, I can only look back and go, man, what I learned a lot, and that is, when you're a solo entrepreneur, when you're starting to go down this road, people and the right kind of advisors that you can go to and know that you can trust in their suggestions and, what they're sharing with you, and give that weight. rather than feeling like you've got to be that entrepreneur and it's your company. So I got to go with my gut all the time. Don't do that. So I would say take a step back. I've put a lot of prayer into my mornings. Every morning when I wake up now, I spend time with my Heavenly Father and I listen, and I've gained so much more patience for the process. You know, it's the old fall in love with the process and you don't know when the process is going to fall in love with you. But that all ties into people, because at the end of the day, it's people. People are going to move your business. People are going to do well with it, and choosing the right people to go along with your company, your vision is so very key. So I would definitely share with any entrepreneur out there, choosing the right people to go along this journey with you. You will find those who have that. You'll talk to them and they'll just have that burning pit in their stomach with your vision and your direction and your mission. And you'll be like, they got it. Right. And those are the ones that and I have several people here with me who I've worked with over 15 years, and they have that, and I'm really fortunate to have the
Uh, with example, yeah, the growth of your business, the scalability of your business. I always say that we have a limited bandwidth. We have one mouth and two hands. There's only so much that we can do as an individual. When, as you said, when you find the people that resonate with your mission, your vision, your goals, the overall structure of the business in the right way, that's when you double, quadruple, and really scale that bandwidth for you to be able to grow. Great advice, Mike. I love that. Last question I have for you: how do you find your Kaizen? What are you doing as an individual? You mentioned prayer in the morning, which I believe is extremely powerful. But what are you doing day by day to constantly move the business forward, move yourself forward 1% every single day?
So it does start with prayer, because I do want to, keep my mind. I open that up and see. But it's really being able to take care of the plans that I've written down. And I always tell everybody, this is really from Mark D'Antonio. My nephew played football at Michigan State, and it was 3%. 3% every day. We have to drive the business 3%. What can I do that is revenue generating? Because there's a lot of warm and fuzzies out there and a lot of great things that are happening. But as an owner, you have to say, what is that RGU? Revenue generating unit, revenue generating tactic. What are you doing to drive your business? I literally have a steering wheel, Kyle, and I've got the roof resource here, and it's like their hands are here. You're driving the business every day, because we can get lost in all these warm and fuzzy things that are going on in these great partnerships. But so I stay focused on revenue generating. Is it going to drive the business today? If it's not going to drive the business today, I'll put it off to the side. What is that relationship going to do? Is that relationship going to drive the business? Yes, it will, but it'll take a little bit of time. Okay, great. I'll elevate that. And so having a list of priorities are you going to be spending the day on revenue generating? And that's I'm going to work in the business, or then it's going to be a day as I'm going to work on the business. And so having those two different perspectives of what am I going to do today? Because if you don't have that, and in the early days of this business, I was switching gears every single day, like literally 2 hours here, 1 hour here, 2 hours here, and man, oh man, that can be just mentally exhausting.
That one. I definitely feel that one. Yeah. That would hit right in the gut. And I think most of us as entrepreneurs understand that too, because as a solopreneur, or someone that's, even if you have multiple partners or anything in the business, there's that fine line of, I be focused on bringing in the next sale, or should I be focused on the retention and the efforts of the business to hold the current sales and customer base that I have? And the answer is you got to do both, right? But as you said, Mike, if you try to do both all the time and you're switching every few hours throughout the day, you end the day with a brain that just is mush. Like it is, it just works you. But right, Mike Harvey from Roof Resource, incredible. I mean, no, I've talked to a lot of roofing companies. I was a CMO for one about 7 or 8 years ago. I've worked with a lot of different roofing companies. A lot of them talk about being transparent and open and using technology to leverage things to give customers more clarity on what's going on. But nobody I've ever talked to gave clarity in the pricing and was there for the consumer in a way that I've heard for Roof Resource. If somebody is in an area that it needs a new roof, it sounds like you guys can really open up an office anywhere than 3 weeks. How do they find you? How do they get connected with you? How do they learn more about Roof Resource and yourself?
Go to theroofresource.com. That's all they need. Name, phone number, email. We'll reach out to them within 15 minutes. take them through our experience. And even if, Kyle, they don't know if they need a roof, or maybe it's 6 months from now, they can still get a quote. And within 24 hours, they will know the roof.
I absolutely love that. That information is going to be found below in the description. If you guys have finished this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure that you're following and supporting business owners like Mike Harvey, who's looking to help the world through business and grow the world 1% every day with the ethics and the support that he has in mind. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the next Kaizen podcast.